What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Cowboys Beat. On today's video, we're going to be talking about why I believe Dak Prescott will have a better 2024 season than he did in 2023. Before we get into the video, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Dak Prescott was excellent in 2023, so for me to say that he could be better in 2024, to some people might sound crazy, might sound like a little bit of a reach, but I honestly believe that that's going to be the case. Here's the thing, right? There are people who believe that, Dak Prescott is on the back nine of his career. He's starting to get there, but he's still in the smack dab prime of his career. You have to understand that the quarterback position is not like wide receiver, cornerback, edge rusher, those type of positions to where when you turn 31, your career is pretty much over, or at least you playing at a very high level is pretty much over. That's not the case with the quarterback position. When you're 31 at the quarterback position, you're smack dab in the middle of your prime. A quarterback's prime is from the ages of 28 to 35. After 35, you might start to see a little bit of a downturn there. I don't know. Some quarterbacks like Drew Brees and Tom Brady play some of their best football post 35. And I think that Dak is a quarterback that's going to age well. And the reason why I believe that is because he is a cerebral quarterback, right? He's not one of these guys that runs around and does all the backyard football type stuff. That's not Dak Prescott's game. Dak Prescott is a pocket passer. He's a surgical pocket passer. He's getting better every single year as a pocket passer. Now, don't get it twisted. He can still make plays out of the pocket as well. We saw that last year. That started to come back to his game to where he was more of a creator outside of the pocket. And I think that actually really benefited him, especially because the structure of Mike McCarthy's offense was so basic that, Dak Prescott was pretty much forced to go make plays with his legs. So that was a very inviting sight to see. But I do think that Dak Prescott's going to age well. I think that he still has about 6 or 7 high-level seasons in him. Maybe you start to see a little bit of a decline in the next 5, 6-ish years. But I think he's a quarterback that's going to play high-level football into his late 30s, which is why I think the Cowboys need to just go ahead and re-sign him, which I do think that's going to happen. I really do. Here's the thing. Last year, Mike McCarthy was doing all this Tex Coast offense stuff for the first 5 weeks of the season where, it was very basic. I thought the offense as a whole was pretty basic, but in these first 5 weeks, it was incredibly basic. So, they kind of moved on and did some of the stuff that they did with Kellen Moore, but they didn't completely commit to that system, that style of offense. They wanted to throw the ball down the field more. And, to Dak's credit, it's not like these receivers were creating a ton of separation, and he was still very accurate, not turning the football over, not putting the ball in harm's way. He did a really good job of that last season. I do think, I've been critical of Mike McCarthy. I do think that this offense will expand a bit in 2024. I do think that, you're going to see more creativity in the offense. Is it to the extent that I want? No, probably not. But we saw Dak with a lack of creativity in offenses that he's played in, put up some really good numbers, play some high-level football, win a lot of football games. So, and also, CeeDee Lamb is only getting better. I know he had a great season last year. I think he'll have another great season this year. I think Ferguson's only going to get better as well. Now that, it's known, because the roles are defined now, right? We know, going into last year, we knew CeeDee Lamb was a number 1 receiver. We didn't know he was a number 1 receiver to the extent that he was. Like, we didn't know that this dude was like a top 3 receiver in football, which is what he is at the current moment, in my personal opinion. We didn't know that Jake Ferguson was a dude to the extent that he was a dude. Like I had a pretty high opinion on Jake Ferguson going into last season. I didn't know he was going to be like that. I really didn't. I think Mike McCarthy's going to do a better job getting Brandon Cooks more integrated in this offense. I think they have some options at that number 3 hole at receiver, Tolbert, Flournoy, Jalen Brooks. I think one of those guys are going to, make a difference. Not like make a big day. They're not going to be like difference makers, but I think, they'll be better than what they had at wide receiver 3. So, I think that, and also this is going to be a pass happy offense because I think that they'll be able to run the football. Like I'm a little higher on this running attack than a lot of other people just because I like Rico Dowdle. And I think that some of the things that the Cowboys had problems with last year when it came to running the football was the way they blocked the run and the way they schemed their running attack. And I think both of those things could improve this year. I do think the offensive line will be playing better than what they were last year from a run blocking perspective, because as a run blocking offensive line, they weren't that good. And I do think that Mike McCarthy's scheme might improve a little bit. Maybe he gets in the lab, he goes and looks at what, these guys like Ben Johnson and Shanahan and McDaniel are doing. And maybe, they can run the football better because they're stealing plays from other coordinators. I'm just going to call it what it is. But I mean, that's yet to be seen. But yeah, if I were to predict the Dak Prescott stat line, I think you're probably looking at like 4,750 on the yards, 4,750 yards. I'll go 42 touchdowns and I'll say 10 interceptions. And if that's the case, man, that's incredible. But let me tell you why this only matters a little bit, because Dak Prescott is not a regular season player anymore. We know this. Cowboys fans should know this by now. Dak Prescott's not a regular season player. He is a postseason player. We need him to show up in the postseason. We're aware that this guy can win a ton of games in the regular season. We're aware that this guy can put up great numbers in the regular season. We're aware that this guy is capable of having tremendous performances in the regular season. He does not need to prove that to us anymore. He needs to prove that he can go into a postseason game and play at a very high level. And do I think he's capable of it? I do. I really do. I believe in him. I believe that he can win you a Super Bowl. Is it from the standpoint of like, hey, you have the Chiefs roster around you, go win a Super Bowl like Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl? I don't think it's like that. I don't. But, I think that, Chris Sims brought up a really good point where he said the thing with Dak Prescott when he gets into these playoff games is he has to be more patient. He has to understand the game. And I feel like, sometimes in these playoff games, Dak doesn't understand the game that he's playing during that game. Like the 49ers game, the defense was holding. We don't need you to put the ball in harm's way. Don't do that. Okay, don't try and force things. Take the easy check down. Throw the ball to the open guy. Don't try and force things. Don't try and force balls down the field. Right? And that to me is going to be the difference in, I think, how Dak Prescott is viewed. If he can show up in the postseason next year, it's going to be a game changer. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video though, guys. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next video.